welcome to Amphlett Reviews, back on another collaboration video with CHAMELEON Films, an Australian company that is really just killing it with their releases. We're at spine number 6 now, and they have done some fantastic editions and some of my favourites of last year with the Election 1 and 2. They've done quite a few of Giant Toe films, which is great for me because I'm a big Giant Toe fan, and to get 5-star treatment, just really nice premium editions, really care given, and lots of special features on these editions is fantastic. And Election 1 and 2 was one of my favourites of last year, and I'm really excited for this new entry they've got now, Motorway, which is diving into Giant Toe's production company, Milky Way, and some of his kind of collaboration efforts. So Giant Toe has produced this film, and it is done by the director of the new Twilight of the Warriors, and which I've talked about on the channel already. Fantastic film, please go and check it out. Very convenient timing as well, being the fact that director is really hot right now, and he is really dishing out some of the best in kind of modern Hong Kong cinema, and this is one of his earlier entries for CHAMELEON Films' official website, which will have this edition alongside their previous releases on the official site ready for order, guys. And this is the special edition version with the CD soundtrack included. You can get the standard edition with just the film only and special features, so I'm very grateful to send me the special edition alongside the regular film itself. So let's dive into this bad boy straight away. Okay. One of the things I do really appreciate, they are doing slipcase editions now, and they really are experimenting. I listen to the feedback that the community is giving, which is something that's really appreciated. So if you're on Twitter, or X now as it's called, please go and give them a poke on there. So Andrew sent you, and any comments, any kind of feedback you have on these editions or transfers or extras, they are taking it on board. And the fact they've recently kind of done the slipcase editions recently is really kind of listening to their audience and kind of seeing what people want to see. And this is part of their new slipcase lineup, which is fantastic for continuity on the shelf, which is something I really appreciate. I love how it has the number 6 on there with their logo, and it has the kind of the main kind of title name as well alongside it. So I love the color scheme and the artwork for this one. There we go. And diving into the back there, we have loads of special features, brand new, including a brand new audio commentary by on Mike Leader. We have inside track, a new interview. We have interview with the composer, which makes sense. We're having the soundtrack on the edition as well. And we also have newly translated and improved optional subtitles as well, alongside including some behind the scenes, making of, photo gallery, trailer, all the usual good stuff in it as well. So let's just have a look at the edition. There we go. Awesome. Beautiful. And so we have the booklet, which I always say, it doesn't matter if it's this edition, whether it's our 888 Films or Eureka, having the booklet is basically a special feature by itself, because you always get some brand new like an essay or kind of article done, and this one has Fast Times in Hong Kong, which is always a great deep dive into kind of like the making of behind the film, what was going on during the time, and the influence, which is always kind of fun to kind of check out. So you got the booklet there. There you go, just show you that. And this is the double edition. So here we have is the film itself. Just put it on the side, and this is the soundtrack. And let's flip it over. We also get alternative artwork, which I will flip, because being the fact you have the slipcase edition, it's always nice to have different artwork for the inside and outside. And I love the fact it's got this nice little cool green towards it. I think this initially was the teaser they had on their official Facebook page and Twitter account. So yeah, that looks really nice. Let's put the disc back in there. Awesome. Motorway 2012. So let's, without further ado, let's dive into the film itself. The edition itself is really top-notch from CHAMELEON Films as usual, packed full of extras, including brand new special features, of course, as mentioned, including a brand new audio track from Arlen Vellemer and Mike Leader. There's a really fantastic extra on this edition by the producer of the film, which is about half an hour. It really dives into kind of the production history, what they were thinking during the time. It'd been, in fact, this producer working for Milky Way Image, part of Giant Toe's production company, and just diving into the kind of limitations, but also trying to create something creative, and this idea of,
even though you have budgetary restraints, even you could be a fresh upcoming director or a DP or anyone part of the kind of creative process, whether you're an actor or someone doing the lighting, for instance, or doing the stunt kind of work in this film. It's all about trying to make the best of what you've got. If you're making a film, what is your stamp on it? What are you trying to put forward? And this extra really dives into a lot of that kind of process and kind of very early filmmaking from students and kind of first-time directors, and including a lot of archival extras as well, Johnny Toe and a lot of the cast and crew. Just a really fantastic edition. If you love the music of the film, definitely get the special edition, which includes the CD, which I don't think has ever been released prior to this release. For a film that is really kind of underrated and film that's not really talked about much. Hopefully now, thanks to Chameleon Films, this will get a bit more of attention and adds to their fantastic lineup of films. And hopefully they'll dive into some more Milky Way Image films very, very soon as well. Motorway was released in 2012, directed by Soi Cheang, which is known now for doing the Twilight of the Warriors, massive success on that film, which I talked about recently on the channel. I've also dived into quite a few of his movies prior to this. We're doing Accident and Limbo, for instance, and some of his other kind of early starter films, which is kind of really kind of a booming sense of kind of visual flair and variety of his kind of filmmaking. And this is part of his kind of early section of movies he did. It is from after Accident, which he spent about 3 years doing Accident beforehand. So this was his next project. He was given this film by the producer, which is talked about in the extras, and assigned to basically do a concept for Milky Way Image, part of Johnny Toe's production company, which his production company is absolutely fantastic. He does some really interesting films, very unique kind of movies, within kind of budgetary restraints to kind of obviously make the best out of the kind of the film themselves, also make profit back later on. So the director has really kind of gone on to do some really fantastic work and really made a name for himself within kind of, Hong Kong, mainland China, and international wise now with the Twilight of the Warriors. So hopefully more good stuff will come from him as time goes on. Storyline for Motorway follows our two main protagonist characters. They are kind of Motorway kind of, patrolmen. Basically it's shown within the early portion of the film that our main protagonist character wants to kind of put his skill set to the test, essentially. He's got his own custom vehicle at home. He's buying parts for it. And, his excuse for being a police officer is essentially to put his driving skills to the test, essentially, and wants to capture these kind of people and doesn't really care for regulations or rules or even the person. He just wants to kind of get behind a wheel, essentially. You've got Anthony Wong's character, which had a bit of a tragic past, someone who's on the verge of retirement, and he doesn't want to do this stuff anymore. It's a young man's game now, and I'm broken. My ambitions and what I was back when I was you, that's not me anymore, kind of thing. But he has wisdom. He kind of teaches our main protagonist character a few tricks and a few ways to kind of outsmart your opponent. And you get some really interesting kind of set pieces as the film goes along with our main bad guy for the film, our kind of main driver, which I don't really think we know his name, someone who's basically an expert in that kind of field and basically expertly plans himself into the police station, breaks out a thief, essentially wants to rob this big kind of diamond, and has a really kind of interesting kind of breakout sequence, which is really good. Some gunplay involved, and our driver character is slick as fuck, very much a kind of Ryan Gosling kind of drive, kind of inspired character, which is funny enough at the same time. And from this, our protagonist character has to kind of learn to adapt to the situation, has to kind of understand more about himself and the vehicle he's driving, and can't just kind of expect it to happen. You need to understand the limitations of yourself and the driver, and keep the focus, essentially. And that is very important to the film, as you get a second attempt in terms of a motorway chase sequence. That leads to an all-out kind of gun-out shootings and interesting kind of set pieces, and some tragedy does strike as well, as happened in the second act. We'll get to a kind of crucial kind of emotional third act, which is very personal, and it gets very kind of very specific. And being the fact that these kind of set pieces are not massive kind of high budget kind of chase sequences, they are expertly well crafted. They are kind of very smooth, they're slick on the road. And being the fact that the third act is mainly set within this kind of multi-storage car park sequence, it is used and utilized to the highest degree, and it is fucking awesome. It is really, really cool, alongside expertly well edited and well crafted kind of sequences and shots, with B-roll included mixed within. Editing in this film is so important, and alongside the soundtrack, which has to have this kind of mood and feel towards it, which captures the sense of kind of like anything can happen. It's almost like a tiger on the hunt, essentially. Anytime this person can strike, and it can cause very deadly blows. And that's what the kind of the third act is, essentially this kind of game of wits, essentially trying to outmaneuver the other person. And we know what the bad guy's skill set is, we know what he's kind of capable of. Can our protagonist character rise to the occasion and use maybe some of his tactics against him, while also learning his own kind of tricks at the same time? And we get some pretty interesting kind of set pieces alongside that. Breezy and easy to watch 90-minute thriller. It's not about this giant kind of love story or kind of like epic kind of tale of revenge necessarily. It's just a nice kind of slick movie about the understanding of the vehicle, understanding of yourself alongside it. And I really appreciate the ending of the film is very appropriate. I think the kind of the lessons learned and the journey with these characters went on, I think is quite nice as well. And I fully enjoyed my time with this on a second viewing, understanding what the film was trying to go for compared to a first initial viewing. This is a anti-Fast and Furious. This is much more of a slicker, much more kind of restrained stealth kind of, maneuvering of the vehicles with a slick soundtrack and some clever editing, some characters you can get behind. Nice, effective, very breezy, very kind of light movie that doesn't go too dark, but also has the kind of right punch and the right kind of tension that makes this film very unique to kind of watch for sure, and definitely part of that kind of Milky Way kind of introduction, which is so definingly known for these types of films. Thank you again for Chameleon Films for the collaboration, the edition, really kind of 5-star kind of, packaging and kind of, extras, and diving into the film and offering this film to a kind of mass audience, which is always appreciated. And it's great to see this type of film get some kind of attention that it necessarily wouldn't have had potentially beforehand. So what are your thoughts and opinions? Please comment down below. In the meantime, guys, I'm for reviews. Signing out.